Hi, poets. Okay, so now that you're an expert at rhyming and repetition and alliteration and writing a poem that gives you a big feeling, the next thing that we want to review is comparing an object or a feeling to something else. Good poets try to use language in fun ways to really get the reader to imagine what is going on in the poem and to have the feeling that they want the reader to have. So, when we use ordinary language, we might say something like, the kids kept jumping up to say more ideas. My heart was happy. When I get to school early, the classroom is quiet. The sky is blue. He felt sad. Clouds are puffy and white. So this is just using ordinary language. It's not really doing anything special with what we want to say. And so we definitely want to try to find a way to take the ideas that we have here that are just ordinary ideas and make them more exciting to really match the mood. So I'm going to go with when I get to school early, the classroom is quiet. And what we're going to take a look at is we're going to look at comparisons. So I have two versions of this, and actually to keep you focused on this, I'm going to cover up the second one. And I want you to just look at this first version. Mornings I come in, the classroom is sleeping. I push chairs in and straighten tables, then the kids come. I feel like that could be a little more exciting. I like the example of the classroom is sleeping because there really isn't anyone in the room, right? When the teacher first arrives into the classroom, it's really empty. So let's look at the second version. And the second one says, mornings. I tiptoe in quietly. The classroom is sleeping. I slide the chairs and tables into their spots, careful not to bang them. The classroom needs its rest. Then the kids clang, clatter, bang in, and wake up the room. So in this version, definitely you can see right away the comparison. In here, I'm almost comparing the classroom to being a student or a child, like a person. So I'm taking the idea of the classroom and I'm thinking about it in a different way. And I'm almost saying that I'm being really careful because I don't want to wake up the classroom. It needs its rest. And then when the kids come in, they wake it up. So if you can kind of imagine that. And boys and girls, that's sort of what we were talking about when we were looking at comparison language. Before we had left, we had looked at two different types of things. We had looked at similes, which is when an author uses the words like or as to make a comparison. And so one of the examples that we had back then was Noah ran as fast as a cheetah. We were comparing how fast Noah was running to as fast as a cheetah goes, to try to show the reader that Noah was running so fast. In the book, when Sophie gets angry, really angry, Sophie was so angry she was like a volcano about to erupt. And so again, we're using the word like, and we're comparing how angry she is, that feeling of really hot feeling in her tummy, and her face is getting really red, and she's about to erupt. So when a volcano erupts, it has an explosion of lava. But when a kid's really angry, sometimes they have an explosion of sound. They're screaming or yelling, right? They're very upset. A metaphor, though, boys and girls, is a figure of speech that makes a comparison by saying something is another thing. So in this case, the author might say something like, the leaves were cornflakes. So you can picture the fall leaves. Cornflakes are kind of brown and curly and crunchy, and you can picture the leaves when they fall in the fall right before winter. And they're falling off the tree, and they're really dry and dead and kind of crunchy. And then this one here, Ben was a cheetah at the race. So instead of using the word like or as, we're putting a sentence, Ben was a cheetah at the race, to let the reader know that this kid Ben was very fast. So now what we're going to do is we're going to explore a couple poems. And the first one that we're going to explore, we're going to look at how an author uses metaphors and doesn't use the word like or as, but actually shows comparisons in this way. All right, let me go out of that. There we go. So if you can take a look at this poem here, Maples in October by Amy Ludwig Vanderwater. They rustle to each other. I think today's the day. Wind is getting colder. Geese are on their way. Oak is throwing acorns. It's time to go ahead. I think today's the day. Let's change our leaves to red. So here, they're almost talking about they rustle to each other. Like you can imagine the trees are talking to each other, like people would talk to each other. And here, if you think about it, they're saying the oak is throwing acorns. You can almost imagine if the oak tree were to come alive and then it's actually like throwing the acorns on the ground. Okay. This one here, waiting room fish. Like small orange birds, we watch you watch us. So the birds, so they're speaking from the point of view of the fish, and they're saying they're like orange birds, and they're watching the person watching them. We peek between plastic plants. We open wide for food flakes. We wave our tails, inviting you to join us for a swim. So again, just a really creative way that the author uses language. Now we refer back to our example of a simile where the author uses the words like or as. Let's take a look at a couple poems that we have here. One, two, three. Okay. So in this first one, Mom's Embrace by Michelle Milleen. Look at the similes here, how they're using the word is, okay? My mom is like a cloud, comfortable and strong. I am like a raindrop. She keeps safe and sound. When I am fully formed, she'll let me go, dropping into the world like a raindrop to the ground. So again, in this poem, the author did a nice job using line breaks, giving us a feeling. So they took a big idea of the way that they feel when their mom gives them a hug, and then this is what they did here. In the second one is talking about friendship. And again, the same author, Michelle Milleen. Friends are like the stars in the sky, always there even when you can't see them. They shine brightly in dark times, guiding me as the North Star does for travelers. In daylight, they blend in, a natural part of my everyday. And then the last one, I thought they did a really great job thinking about a storm, and again, giving that feeling. The air was heavy like a wet towel that needed to be wrung out, and the thunderheads began to rumble like an angry volcano. The wind stirred up in fury like a swarm of locusts suddenly taking flight, and then the heavens opened and drenched the thirsty earth. So, second graders, what we reviewed today is we really talked about how poets try to compare an object or a feeling to something else in order to make their poem really, really strong. And we talked about a couple of the ways that you can do that are by adding a simile to your poem or adding a metaphor to your poem. See if you can go back to some of the poems that you've written and try one of those things.